Hello and welcome to our Saturday, March 12, 2022 program. This is Shimelis Gebremichael with UMD News Package for today. We invite you all to stay with the program and for your questions, comments, and suggestions, please use our email address newstips2020 umd@gmail.com. UMD extensively works in understanding, measuring, and doing matters. Our news team attempts to update you with the latest in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. Any of your support, including the provision of news tips, comments, questions, and suggestions, are always welcomed. Before we jump into our news packet today, here are the headlines for the major news of the day. UN says 7 million people in northern Ethiopia need urgent help. Information is roaming that Eritrea has purchased more ammunition from Russia. UN OCHA says drought ravages livelihoods in Ethiopia. This is the story we chose to look in more detail in our today's edition. Now we will move into providing more information on these and other news items. As we always say, please do not forget to like and share our programs and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also view our programs in other platforms, including the Facebook. On the first chapter of our news package, we will look into some brief news for today. Prosperity Party commenced its first Congress since its inception about 4 years ago. People are viewing PP's celebratory mood with more curiosity and criticism. It was a black day for ethnic Tigrayans yesterday, viewing bodies of their compatriots burned alive in Benishangul Gumuz capital, Matakkal. UMD expresses its deepest condolences to all Tagarus and the justice lovers Ethiopians and wishes for this madness to end once and for all. While these grievances and mournings are happening, the leading party, on the contrary, commended its achievements. The incumbent government party of Ethiopia, Prosperity Party, held its first general meeting in Addis Ababa. Addressing the gathering yesterday, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said the country has registered significant progress since his party assumed power. For many, including contesting parties and the victims of the continued wars in the country, however, the Prime Minister's remark is preposterous. The ongoing war in Ethiopia in all corners has left hundreds of thousands lose their life, displaced from their hometown, ravaged the infrastructure of the nation, and hardly hits its economy. Millions are now on the verge of extinction because of a deliberate siege, hunger, and lack of basic food supplies and life-saving medications. Peace efforts have not bear fruit so far, and the fate of the country is not known despite the celebratory mood of the government officials and cadres at the heart of the country. Thousands are convened in Addis Ababa for their 3-day festivals as if all is well and good. This reminds of the 1974 famine in Wollo and Tigray, where the then emperor was celebrating his birthday while millions perish. Many, including the Tigray government, condemned this heinous act. Ethiopian bishops call for peace process in the country. Catholic bishops in Ethiopia call for peace and dialogue in the country as the conflict in the northern region of Tigray threatens to trigger a famine. Bishops said they had never been silent about the war, They said the church was delivering humanitarian aid in all conflict areas and followed all the professional and legal reports on the alleged human rights abuses linked to the conflict. However, religious institutions in the country were either quiet or supported the war in one way or the other. From the comments like, "We will be better off if devil rules over Ethiopia," to the dehumanization of certain societies, their messages and preachings have resulted in the days of many innocent civilians and migrations of millions, which is still continuing on all corners of the country. From the mass killings to the burnings of alive bodies, the country has continued to witness various heinous acts over the last 16 months and beyond. Religious fathers were not condemning these acts throughout. The March 8 bishop's statement, however, called the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ethiopia renew its appeal to all parties involved in the conflict in the country to drop their guns and stand a genuine dialogue for the interests of the people. The bishops also assure their prayers, their commitment to help in all possible ways, together with all the stakeholders to see peace attained and reconciliation reached. UN says 7 million people in northern Ethiopia need urgent help. UN health body says a de facto blockade has deprived 7 million people in Tigray of urgent needed health care and access to food. The head of the World Health Organization (WHO) said Thursday that 7 million people in Ethiopia's northern Tigray region need urgent help. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said on Twitter, "For more than a year, a de facto blockade has deprived 7 million people in Tigray of urgently needed health care and access to food. People are dying, calling on Ethiopia and Eritrea to guarantee immediate and safe access." He said, "Life is precious everywhere." A report released by the World Food Programme warns that an estimated 13 million people across Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia are facing severe hunger due to the direst conditions recorded since 1981. Meanwhile, the Tigray government calls for immediate investigations and ending blockade. The Tigray External Affairs Office has urged the international community to deploy a robust package of punitive actions on those who committed heinous crimes against innocent civilians. In a statement the office issued in response to the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights' recent decision, the office also called the international community to give hand for Ethiopian government to negotiating table, facilitate an unobstructed humanitarian delivery into Tigray and end the cruel blockade of Tigray. The office also expressed its readiness to align with the internationally accepted principles and procedures that could facilitate the investigation process and bring perpetrators into justice. In a similar development, Tigray Education Bureau revealed data of war consequences on the school systems. In a statement, the Tigray Educational Bureau issued on Thursday, March 10, 2022, well around 2,146 teachers and students were killed, while over 88 schools were destroyed during the aggression in the region. The survey conducted on 2,054 schools found in 6 zones of Tigray and covered the duration between August to September of 2021. It was indicated that the survey is the first of its kind since the war erupted. According to the head of the bureau, Dr. Shishai Amar, despite the human casualties, school resources, including computers and plasma screens, were destroyed by invading forces. USA provides 1.5 million US dollar worth assistance for war displaced people. The United States government recently donated 1.5 million US dollar worth of assistance to war displaced people in Ethiopia. U.S. Embassy chargé d'affaires in Ethiopia Ambassador Tracy A. Jacobson handed over 250 metric tons of humanitarian supplies to the International Organization for Migration (IOM) and Disaster Risk Management Commission at a warehouse in Addis Ababa. The charge DFS said on the occasion that the supplies will support U.S. efforts to provide emergency support for tens of thousands of Ethiopians affected by the ongoing conflict in the Amhara and Afar regions of Ethiopia. Currently, about 4.2 million people are internally displaced across Ethiopia due to conflicts and climatic shocks such as drought and foods. In addition, USAID has reported currently the only way to get life saving humanitarian supplies, such as medicine, to Tigray is by air. With USAID support, WFP has ended second increasing cargo capacity from 40 to 200 metric tons to its operations to transport more aid to Ethiopians in need. Information is roaming that Eritrea has purchased more ammunition from Russia. Local media reported recently that Eritrea is keeping on purchasing more armaments from Russia. Eritrea now is also openly supporting Russia's aggression in Ukraine. In its recent analysis, The Economist said that the peakly isolated dictator in Asmara has long been hostile to the West. It said, unlike an overwhelming majority of countries supporting a UN resolution of condemning Russian aggression, Eritrea refrained from doing so. The report says Eritrea's solidarity with an imperialist, in quotation, revanchist Russia is at first glance surprising. Eritrea won independence from Ethiopia in 1993, just a couple of years after Ukraine broke away from Russia. As in Ukraine, nationhood in Eritrea is seen as something fragile which cannot be taken for granted. Meanwhile, the Ethiopian government and few African countries remain neutral in Russia-Ukrainian case. In the recent press briefing, Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Ambassador Dina Mufti said Ethiopia is watching the dispute between Russia and Ukraine carefully. He asserted that Ethiopia will remain neutral regarding the two countries' internal affairs. Nearly 70 people were killed in South Sudan cattle raids. Intercommunal clashes, mostly involved cattle, have killed nearly 70 people across various parts of South Sudan in the past week. According to authorities in South Sudan's central eastern state of Jonglei, 14 people were killed and 13 injured during the most recent attack of a cattle raid in Duck County. Jonglei's acting governor, Tong Majok, told VOA South Sudan in Focus that the Pang, Pangoki cattle camp in the Duke Pediat district was attacked by what he called terrorist youth, allegedly from the neighboring Greater Pibok administrative area. He said the attackers raided several cattle herds but returned the animals Monday night. Salam told South Sudan in Focus that the Arab youth came and attacked a cattle camp in Pyangyi. They fought with our youth in the cattle camp and killed 7 people on our side of Rubkona. And now we'll move into one story we have chosen to present to you in more details for today. UN UN OCHA says drought ravages livelihood in Ethiopia. The United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, UN OCHA, said recently ongoing drought is increasingly deteriorating the living conditions and livelihoods of affected communities in parts of southeastern Ethiopia. According to OCHA, ongoing drought in the Horn of Africa is affecting close to 7 million in Ethiopia and is increasingly deteriorating the living conditions and livelihoods of affected communities in Oromia, Somali, southwestern Ethiopia, and southern nationalities and peoples regions, primarily, the UN OCHA said in its latest situation update. UN OCHA said some 3.5 million people are facing the consequences of the drought in the Oromia region, while about 3 million people continue to suffer from the brunt of drought in the Somali region, with over 900,000 reported livestock days, the UN OCHA said. The UN OCHA also indicated that over 1 million people in 21 districts of East and West Hararge in the Oromia region are living in a dire condition where the water tracking gap stands at 70%, calling for an urgent need for additional 42 trucks in both zones. The report also indicated that the drought situation in the West Guji zone of the Oromia region continues to have a severe impact and repercussions on the lives of affected communities. Over 27,000 children and 22,000 young women are currently facing serious protection concerns. UN OCHA further elaborated that an emergency response is ongoing and is further required for at least the next 5 months to save lives and livelihoods and prevent further deterioration of an already extremely dire humanitarian situation with increasing protection concerns for which additional funding is urgently required. Meanwhile, the UN OCHA said measles cases continue to be reported since December 2021 in Dolo Ado and Bokolo Moyo district in Ethiopia's Somali region, with about 700 new cases and 12 days recorded as of March 3. It was noted that the measles outbreak affected 15 localities, including 5 refugee camps in the zone. It said that while the number of cases recorded has decreased since cases were diagnosed in December 2021, active cases still remain. Well, with that, we come to the end of the news program for today. This has been Shimelis Gebremichael here at UMD Media. Please do not forget to like and share our program and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow our programs through our other platforms as well to become the first to know what is going on in Ethiopia, the Horn, Africa, and the world in general. You can easily reach us via our email address, newstips2020umd@gmail.com. Thank you for watching and have a good one.